Rangers and the world of sports. You know what that means? That cool music. What that cool music means, Trent?
It's time for Super Radio Brothers
It's
Sports.
time for sports. Super Radio Brothers Sports on Super Radio Brothers right now. How's that?
Okay.
Is it good?
I mean, I like the original music. You know, that's pretty good. But you know, the hate to burst your bubble.
Well,
But
I thought I'd add a little flair to it. I spent all week writing that. I've put a
you
lot of
did?
effort in.
it sounds like you came up with that on the fly.
No, me? I put work into what I do, Trent. A lot of effort. A lot of effort and thoughts and processes.
Absolutely.
You know.
And hold on. Oh, I just saw a thing. Texas and the Rays are tied 2-2 going into the top of the ninth inning. So hopefully one of my Tampa Bay teams can win tonight.
Well, maybe the Rays can salvage the night for you.
I hope, because I don't want to go 0-2.
Yeah, that's always a rough night. That's always a rough night. All right, Super Radio Brothers Sports. What are we talking about here, Trent?
Well, let's finish off the Lightning talk. You know, the Lightning and Rangers. You're a Ranger fan.
Yeah.
You know, I want to. You only watched maybe a half of a hockey game during the regular season, but when the playoffs got underway, you got into it, and that's a good thing. You know, that's a playoff.
Yeah,
hockey.
Rangers being good gets me into it for sure.
Yeah, playoff hockey is definitely a lot better than the regular season.
Yeah.
But the Lightning ended up losing the game 1 6-2. But let me just tell you about the outlook of this series first. And I know it's we're through only game 1. Game 2 is going to be Friday night, and of course game 3 is on Sunday at Amalie Arena, and vice versa. You know the schedule.
Yeah.
But if not, you can look it up. But the Lightning lost that game, and look, coming into this game, they had 9 days off. They hadn't played a hockey game since I was there last, actually, May 23rd, when they played the Florida Panthers, and they ended up winning them in a shutout 2-0 and ended up beating them. But look, the rest was good for the Lightning to get some injured players back, but also, like we saw a little bit tonight in this particular game, it can hurt you a little bit. And the Rangers have been playing well. They won that series. They won a dominating game over the Carolina Hurricanes in Game 7. Ironically, Rich, by the same score. I believe they beat the Hurricanes by a 6-2 count.
That's right.
And they beat the Lightning by a 6-2 count tonight too. So their magic number has been 6 as of the past 2 games. The Rangers.
Yep.
Even though the Lightning have the playoff experience, the fact that the Rangers have momentum, this could have been a good thing for them as well. Because and it definitely was, because whenever you're hot, you don't want anything to stop your momentum. You want to be on the ice and continue your hot streak as long as you can, and that's what the Rangers did. We have a couple of 50-goal scorers that we're dealing about, one of which is Chris Kreider. Kreider scored the goal about 30 seconds into the contest to give New York a 1-0 lead. Then Steven Stamkos came back to take it at 1. And then it was kind of a seesaw game after that. You know, every time New York would score, Tampa Bay would bounce back. And then from there, the Lightning just had trouble getting in their own zone. Just were careless with the puck at times. Couldn't take advantage of the power play. Vasilevsky had a tough night, and considering, people have to realize that it's okay for Andrei Vasilevsky to have tough nights every now and then, because 90% of the time he's on his game and he's standing on his head, making sure the shots don't go in the net for the opposing team. So, look, as long as they get it out of their system tonight, which I hope they did, they're going to be fine, and it's okay for teams to have games like this. And people are wondering, if you're a Lightning fan, are you worried? No, I'm not, because they've been in this situation. The Lightning don't lose back-to-back games. They haven't lost back-to-back games very often, especially in the postseason. So the odds tell me that they'll be back on track game 2, and like that brawl. Rich will be able to tell you more about that brawl that happened at the end of the game. That brawl, I think, sent a message to the Rangers from the Tampa Bay Lightning saying, "Don't mess with us."
Yeah, it could be. You see that happen a lot at the end of these games in the NHL, these playoff games, where, hey, there's a little frustration. you get out there, you take it out on the other team, and you come back ready to play in the next game. And this was a little more. Both those teams were going at it at the end of the game. And, a couple of things. If you're the Rangers, of course, you want to win Game 1 at home. That's you're getting it done that way. And now you get a little greedy, and you want to take Game 2 at home too. And as you said, Lightning aren't used to losing 2 games in a row during the playoffs. Heck, you could say Lightning aren't used to losing. They just came off a sweeping a Florida Panther team that was the number 1 team in the NHL this past year. They didn't lose 1 game to that team, and they come out here against the Rangers and they lose a game. So when you're the Rangers and you're facing a team like that that's just coming off of a series sweep against the supposed best team in the NHL, you got to feel good about taking Game 1 at home, but not just doing that in the fashion you did. You win the game going away 6-2. You were ahead the entire game. The Lightning had the equalizer a couple of times. It was 1-0, then 1-1, 2-1, then 2-2, and then the Rangers scored 4 unanswered goals. You look at the stats. Lightning had 39 shots on goal. Rangers 34. Pretty even there. Rangers were able to capitalize on the power play, 1-2. And the Lightning had more power plays than the Rangers. They were just 0 for 4. So the opportunities were there. I think where the Rangers really dominated and changed the game were on the face-off. They won 33 face-offs. They were able to control the puck, keep it in the Lightning zone, keep the pressure going. So those face-offs really kept the puck out of the Lightning's hands, and that's why I think they only had 39 shots on goal there, and I think it made a big difference. And, I think Shesterkin was really good after that second save. He had a couple of sequences where he stood on his head and made some saves that maybe for this game ripped the heart out of the Lightning, because they felt like they should have had an equalizer there. It should have been 3-3. But hey, again, it's only the first game. You're facing a championship team. But another thing about the Rangers too is just the way they've gotten here, which makes you think about this team. They were down 3-1 in the first round, down 3-2 in the second round. They're 5-0 in elimination games so far this postseason. They are a hard team to beat with their backs against the wall. They have the goalie a lot of people consider to be the best goalie in the sport this year. Of course, they're Vasilevsky is one of the best too. So, but Rangers have the feel of a team that has something special going on right now. So we'll see what happens, but that's an encouraging first game against the world champs for the New York Rangers. 6-2 victory.
Absolutely. Now, let's while we're talking about the playoffs, we'll touch baseball last, but let's go to the NBA. We got a series coming up tomorrow night, the Golden State Warriors and the Boston Celtics. Boston hadn't been to the finals since 2010 when guys like Paul Pierce were on the team, Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen. You remember that big three, Rich? Yeah. That was fantastic. And you can't forget Rajon Rondo, and that team was so deep with Kendrick Perkins, and I think Glenn Big Baby Davis.
Yeah, Glenn Big Baby Davis. Oh, you're bringing it back. Yeah, he was fun.
Big Baby Davis.
I've seen him recently. He was at a game recently. He was at one of the Celtic games, and he's really Big Baby right now. I'm just saying, he's gotten really big. And I love seeing KP with Stephen A. on ESPN. He's big, Trent. Not bulky. Okay. He's big. He's fat. Okay. What do you want? Which is okay. I'm sure he's happy. The guy's a millionaire. He's comfortable right now.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. But I love seeing KP on ESPN. I think he does a great job. And Paul Pierce, he was a great player to watch because he's one of those guys that wasn't one of the greatest athletes in the world, but his footwork and his clutch play, and he was clearly the guy on that Celtic team that beat a Kobe Bryant-led Laker team for an NBA championship. So, we haven't seen the Celtics good in a while. It's been over a decade, and that was a team that won a championship. And Paul Pierce, he was definitely one of the best players of the era, man. He was something to watch. I'm sure Celtic fans miss him. I don't miss him. I don't miss him at all. I don't miss him. I'm sure you don't. And it's a conundrum for me, Trent, because I hate the Golden State Warriors and I hate the Boston Celtics. I can't stand either team. I really can't.
So you wish both teams could lose if that was
Yeah, I
possible.
would like to see both teams lose. Is that possible?
I'm sorry. I hate to break-
Well, last
yeah.
night the Celtics and Golden State lost. The series is tied at 1 loss apiece. How do you work that out?
Tied at 1 loss apiece.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
First team to 4 losses loses the series. Well, I guess that is how it works. But anyway,
I'm just going to get a general consensus for the NBA. The Warriors and the Celtics have won each one half of a championship. So you're going to have a
yeah, they can
50%
split it.
of those-
I don't want to see either one actually win. They should just split it, and they shouldn't even play the games.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But no, yeah, you got good teams. I mean, the Celtics have got depth, man. They got not only are Jason Tatum and Marcus Smart. You know, Tatum's been fantastic. He's been a scorer. He's definitely makes things happen on the defensive end. Marcus Smart. Basically, everybody on the Celtics can make the three. Of course, Derek White can cause some issues at the rim for opposing teams, and also he can shoot from the corners from 3-point range, and not just from the corners, but basically anywhere on the court. And then, of course, you got for the Warriors, you got Steph Curry and Draymond Green and Klay Thompson. You got the Splash Brothers, as they say. It's going to be a fun series. Rich, can you say that it's going to be raining threes at Oracle Arena in San Francisco starting tomorrow night?
Well, the Celtics definitely don't want to hear that, because if that's the case, most likely they're losing the game. Yeah, both teams are awesome for different reasons. A lot has been made about how much bigger the Boston Celtics are than the Warriors, but we know that the Warriors are a great offensive team. That free flowing offense, constant motion, Steph Curry from 30 feet away. If those guys are hot, it's going to be hard to beat them. But when you look at what makes the Celtics such a great defensive team, well, for one thing, they got the Defensive Player of the Year in Marcus Smart. And, this is an era where you can have a Defensive Player of the Year not be a center. Marcus Smart is the point guard, and he's the Defensive Player of the Year. And he's going to be on maybe the most important offensive player on the Golden State Warriors in Stephen Curry. As a matter of fact, there was a confrontation between those two earlier this year going for a loose ball where Stephen Curry got injured in that game because Marcus Smart is an intense player. And does Steph Curry think twice about doing certain things because he's been hurt playing against Marcus Smart? They're all ballers over there. You look at Al Horford, and how he battled against Antetokounmpo in that series and how they went back and forth. They're not scared of anyone. If Al Horford can stand toe-to-toe with Antetokounmpo, he's going to make a difference in this series too. There's nobody on that Golden State team that's going to intimidate him. You mentioned with the Warriors, Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson, of course, the Splash Brothers. But one of the things that's made that team special are the secondary players this year. Look at what Jordan Poole has done. He's become the third guy. He's become a big-time scorer in this league. Another guy that just spreads the floor for the Golden State Warriors, makes them difficult to defend. You got Andrew Wiggins, who's another guy who's a high flyer, who can score, who's also a great defensive player. And, of course, Draymond Green. And I see a lot of people picking the Boston Celtics in this series because you got Jason Tatum, great young player, two-way player. He has his Robin and Jaylen Brown, who seems at times can score at will. Defensive Player of the Year, Marcus Smart. You mentioned Derek White, a great guy who can offer some offense at opportune times, hitting the three, getting the ball to the basket. Great backup point guard type of guy, and of course Al Horford. But I think sometimes we underestimate how good the Warriors actually are, man. This is a team that's already won 3 championships. They haven't been back in a couple of years, but, all the injuries. Klay Thompson hasn't played in 2 years. Steph Curry has had to do it basically by himself out there, and he's not the type of player that's going to do that. Look, he's not LeBron. He's not. He needs a team around him that's going to help set him up to take these 30-foot jump shots. He's not a Luka Doncic, a Kevin Durant. He needs other guys to set him up. He's not going to be the playmaker that those guys are. So I think with the Warriors at full strength and Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson getting these open shots, the motion offense, it's hard to pick against them. They've won championships already. And I like I said, you see everybody picking the Celtics in this series, and I think ultimately I'm going to root for the Celtics because as much as I dislike Boston, I'm just tired of the Warriors, and I'm really upset to have to see them here again. And I underestimated them because I thought that Memphis would probably take that game, that series 7 games. And I know John Morant got hurt, and it did go 6 games, but I thought that would go deeper. I thought Dallas would give the Warriors a better series, and they took Dallas out in 5. So I think I've underestimated them, and look at what Dallas did. To get Dallas beat a 64-win Phoenix Suns team, beat them in Game 7 convincingly, destroyed Phoenix in Game 7. All right, and Golden State went out and beat that team in 5 games. So I think it's hard to say that you underestimate a team with Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson, 3-time champions. But I think maybe sometimes we forget how good they are. And Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they're very young. They rely on defense. The Golden State has home court advantage. I think Golden State's going to win the series. And I think they're going to win this series in 5 or 6 games. I don't think that, and they say defense wins championships. You know what? But Stephen Curry is a special player. He's a legendary player. He's an all-time player. He's what many consider to be the greatest shooter of all time. Oh, and guess what? You have the second greatest shooter of all time in Klay Thompson on the team. And now they got young stars. Jordan Poole is an all-star in this league. Andrew Wiggins is a former lottery pick, number 1 pick in the draft. And of course you got Draymond Green, who's their main playmaker. He's healthy this year. He's going to cause problems. I think you're looking at, okay, the Celtics are a nice team. They had a great year. They get to the NBA Finals. But Golden State's a legendary team. This is a team that's going to be an NBA 2K, in 20. It's going to be 2040. Oh, classic team in NBA 2K, Golden State Warriors. Of course, 2022. Are the Celtics, this Celtic team, is it going to be remembered in that regard? Well, if they win this series, maybe. But then they'd still need 2 more championships to catch up to Steph Curry. This is legacy. Steph Curry wins his championship. He has many championships as LeBron James. Not only that, now he's won a championship without Kevin Durant. I know he already did that for the first championship, but it hasn't done so since. He won 2 with Kevin Durant. Plus, this is after the fact, after Kevin Durant leaves to go to Brooklyn. And look at that. He's on Brooklyn. What a disaster that is. They get knocked out in the first round by the Boston Celtics. And here's Steph Curry and the Warriors back in the finals. So, and it's hard to, that's another thing. Hard to say that a team like the Warriors that's won 3 championships, that's won 73 games in a season, that they have something to prove. But I'll tell you what, I bet you those guys, I bet you Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green, they really feel like they have something to prove, that, you know what, it wasn't Kevin Durant that made this team. We won a championship before him, and we're going to win a championship after him. So there are too many things working in the favor of storylines, and a lot of times, let's face it, in the NBA, that's what it is. You go to where the stars are, you're going to win a championship. And you know what? To me, Tatum and Brown, they're not on the level of Curry, Thompson, not yet. And there's just too much firepower on that Golden State team for me to pick the Celtics in this series. So it's hard for me to say 5 or 6. If I say Golden State's going to win in 6, that means they're going to win in Boston. And it's hard to say that the Golden State's going to win the series in Boston. So it's hard to say they're going to win the game in the series in 6 games. But let me say, I think they changed that. I don't think it's the 2-3-2 format anymore. I think it's 2-3. It's 2-2-1-1-1. So
I believe it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 2-2-1-1-1. So Game 6 would be in Boston. So I'll say 7. But and if you say that the series ends in 7, Boston is not winning Game 7 in San Francisco. It's not happening. So I'm going to say Warriors. I know I went from 5 to 7 games, but you got to give the Celtics credit too and what they bring to the table defensively. I just think Golden State has too much firepower. Give me the Warriors in 7 games, Trent. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Golden State Warriors do win the series, but I think Boston competes, and I'm going to give Boston an opportunity, but I agree with you. I think Golden State will win it. I think it'll be a close game if it goes to 7 games. I think Game 7 will be close. I think it will be one of those classic Game 7s that nobody forgets about. But you know what? I gotta give it. I gotta give Boston. I gotta give Golden State the edge over the Boston Celtics.
And just to there's a good stat here provided by Sharon, the show producer. Speaking about something to prove without Kevin Durant, here's Stephen Curry's numbers in the playoffs without Kevin Durant. With him, he averaged 27.5 points a game. Without, 25.9 points a game. Here's where the story is. I believe these are playoff games or NBA final games, actually. Curry 9-1 with Kevin Durant. Without, 8-10. So actually that makes no sense. So probably playoff games, I would say, and NBA titles, of course, the 2 with and the 1 without. So yeah, that's playoff games. So 9-1 with, 8-10 without. Anyway, that's how that whole thing breaks down. A lot to prove. I think you might think that's crazy, Trent, but I think that Curry and Klay Thompson and all those guys, they feel like they have something to prove in this series, and they have too much experience, man. They've done it too many times. They've been through all these wars. I think they win this series.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. So it should be a fun.
But for
NBA.
the record, I am rooting for the Celtics. I'd rather see them win. I hate Golden State.
I'd like to see Boston win too. They came so close against the Lakers back in 2009, 2010. But I got to give. I don't think it's Boston's year this year either. As great of a season as they have had.
And guess what, Trent? I don't like them. So that's all the stats and everything. My main reason is I don't like them.
I'm sure you don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I understand.
It's a whole thing, It's just a dislike thing.
Yeah. Well, let's get into baseball as we always do. The Tampa Bay Rays they're in shambles right now. Although going into last weekend, I said if the Tampa Bay Rays were to split with the New York Yankees, I would have loved to seen them take 3 out of 4, but it just wasn't meant to be. The Rays-Yankees game lived up to the hype. Of course, the Rays lost to the Yankees on Thursday night, 7-2. They lost on Friday night. They were shut out by a 2-0 count. But then on Saturday, when Rich went to the game, Tampa Bay wins again. How does that happen? You're 0-5. You need to go to more Rays games so the Rays can win more home games at Tropicana Field. You seem to be a feather in the Rays' cap right now.
I can't buy a win. Yankees 34-15 on the year, so obviously a lot more wins than losses. And I go to one of those 15 losses, Trent.
I know. That's wild. I mean, it's great.
But, I will say, though, going into the series, I said it on this show last week. I said it on our actual sports show on Out of Sight Sports. Going into the series against the Rays, especially coming off of all the injuries and the turmoil, the first bit of turmoil that the Yankees had faced all season, going right into that series with everything that went down with the injuries, I felt that taking a split would be a victory for the Yankees. And at that time the Rays were in second place. They were 4.5 back. So, a split looks pretty good. Let's keep it right here. But I will admit, when you take the first 2 games of the series, then you get greedy. You're like, oh, we took the first 2. Let's get one more, and we take 3 out of 4. And Tampa would win the next 2. Yes, the Saturday game I was at, they took that game, and they took the 4th game, and they end up splitting the series 2-2. But I really felt that for the Yankees anyway, it was a good job getting a split in Tampa. They get the first game against the Los Angeles Angels, and the Yankees just ho-humming, and you still feel good in that Tampa series where everybody pitched well. Even in the games they lost, look, you saw nasty Nestor Cortez continue to dominate in that first game, continue his Cy Young campaign right now because it's not even close. If the season ended today, Nestor Cortez is the American League Cy Young. He's been that incredible, that unhittable, and he continued that pattern of play in the first game against the Rays. And then Jameson Taillon, he's been another guy. Just shocking how well he's pitched so far this year. And Garrett
and
Cole,
the Rays rocked Taillon last year whenever you were at that
they
game.
smoked him, and they couldn't touch him. He went 8 innings, I believe, in that game. And then Cole pitched well in the game I went to. Didn't quite give you the length that you needed if you're a Yankee fan in that game, especially what's kind of the depleted bullpen with the injuries to Loizica and Chapman and Green. So you got to go to King there. And King was great early in the season. He was one of the best relievers in baseball his first 7 appearances, but since then has like a 7 ERA, and he had been giving it up. So in that 7th inning, when the Yankees brought him into a 1-1 game after they brought Cole out, I didn't feel too good about it. And sure enough, Yankees would go on to lose that game 3-1. King gave it up, but still, and Severino went on to pitch really well in that 3rd game there. Which, look, there was another questionable decision. Everybody was questioning Boone's decision to bring in Ron Marciano into the 8th inning of that game, and what is he supposed to do? He's got no other pitchers to bring in. This is a rookie. He's only played 6 big league games, 6.7 ERA in those games, and you bring him into a big spot like
high leverage situation.
Yeah, high leverage situation, and before you know it, he walks the first 2 batters, forces in a run, hits the next batter in the back with a curveball, and before you know it, the Rays are up 4-2, and they end up taking that 4th game and splitting the series with the Yankees. But look, Yankees went into Tampa, they split the series, even with all the injuries. Top players in the lineup, Stanton, Donaldson not in the lineup. I thought the Yankees did a great job there. Take the first game against the Angels, and you look at the standings right now. Yankees still doing a fantastic job, 34-15 as we speak. A 5.5 game lead on Toronto, 6 game lead on Tampa. By the way, the Toronto Blue Jays jumping Tampa into 2nd place. The Rays in 3rd place now, only a half game.
Yes, the Rays are no longer in 2nd place.
But Rays falling down to 3rd place. Yankees still in 1st place, and it's good to see. But you worry because Toronto's the team everybody was picking at the beginning of the year. Are they going to make a charge here? Will injuries catch up to the Yankees as they seem to do every single year? Even though, look, the Stanton injury turned out to be an ankle, not a calf, which is actually a good thing. He was on the 10-day IL. He's getting set to come off. Looks like he'll be back really soon. You got LeMahieu back off the wrist injury. Donaldson's a different story. He had the COVID protocol, and then all of a sudden he's on the COVID protocol. Somehow, I don't know how you get a shoulder injury while you have COVID, but somehow that happened to Donaldson. So I look at this team. Here's my whole thing, Trent. I'll say this real quick just to wrap up my Yankee talk. They're good. All right. This is the best team we've seen in a couple of years. And you start to think about it as a Yankee fan. Well, what's going to hold this team back? Why are they going to lose in October? And it's left field. It's Aaron Hicks and Joey Gallo. These dudes are absolutely terrible. And it's not like, they don't have options. You wonder, why in the world do they keep marching these guys out there? They're freaking terrible when you got a Miguel Andujar who needs to play. Give the guy a shot. He was 2nd in Rookie of the Year voting back in 2018, had 27 home runs, 97 RBIs. The guy had a huge rookie season. And, yeah, a lot of guys, you're seeing that with your superstar young guy in his 2nd year. Sometimes you fall off the next year. You saw it with Gleyber Torres. And, yes, Andujar fell off. Is he ever going to be the fielder in left field that a Joey Gallo is? No. But he's not going to hit 100 either. I guarantee you that. Andujar is going to put the bat on the ball. He's going to hit at least 260. Give me a break. I don't think he's going to hit 27 home runs like he hit in 2018. But you know what? He's going to make contact. He's going to be a professional hitter. And I just think he's a guy that deserves a shot. Dudes like Aaron Hicks, I don't care that you gave him 7 years, $100 million. The dude should not be playing. Right now, Hicks is hitting 32% below Major League Baseball's average. in OPS, factoring in league and park, and Gallo is actually 33% below the major league average in OPS. So these dudes are terrible. They're not bad. They're terrible, and they're automatic outs. And on a team that's going to – if you're a team that wants to take yourself seriously and say, you know what, we want to win a World Series, Gallo and Hicks cannot be playing. That's what Brian Cashman needs to fix by the All-Star break, by the trade deadline. You need to go out there. You need to make a move so that in October I'm not seeing Hicks and Gallo in the lineup because they can't be there. This is what he gets paid for. Great general manager, all that bullshit. You know what? Fix left field. Hicks cannot be playing. Gallo cannot be playing. These dudes cannot be in the lineup in big games at the end of the season. I'm sorry. And that's the only thing you can really complain about as a Yankee fan right now. And that's pretty great when that's the only thing you have to complain about.
Yeah, it really is. And so it should be an interesting, we kind of really know what our baseball teams look like right now because it's June 1st. And
well, that's the cliche, right, Trent? The baseball season doesn't really start until June 1st. That's when you really get a feel of what your team is and what they're capable of.
And then the next key date is the All-Star break and all that kind of stuff. So should be interesting stuff. But just a little quick update on the Rays. They're struggling. What else can I say? The offense can't hit anything right now, and the pitchers are having to carry the weight. And unfortunately, some nights it doesn't work like that because the Rays aren't getting too much length from their starters. I mean, we had tonight, being Wednesday, we had Jeffrey Springs. He labored a few times, but he only gave up, a run or two and in 5 innings of work. And normally if you give up, look, it's fair to say, oh, that's a nice hit. I'm sorry, no, never mind. Guy just grounded out. Anyway, we're
that happens to me all the time, Trent. I'm like, and Sharon hears me in the living room. I'm like, oh.
I know.
Think it's a hit, and then it's not a hit.
We're in the top of the 10th inning right now. We're tied 2-2 with the Texas Rangers at the current moment. So that should be an interesting.
You get to enjoy my favorite new rule, the Ghost Runner. I really like the Ghost Runner.
Yeah, you're right. But the Rangers and Rays are tied right now 2-2. But what I'm saying, you go back to the Yankees series where Ryan Yarbrough and Nestor Cortez matched wits for the first 5 or so innings. And then, of course, Yarbrough had that blip in the 6th where they ended up giving up a couple of runs. And then
seems like Yarbrough always pitches well against the Yankees, too. And it's so frustrating because he throws the ball like 80 miles an hour.
Yeah, Yarbrough's great. He's a good pitcher. But
you watch it, Trent, and you see the ball come in 87. Like, man, how are they not hitting this guy? And yeah, I mean, obviously with baseball, and you wish some of the scouts would realize this, but it's not always about speed, right? It's about deception, arm angles, and Yarbrough is a fun guy to watch. He really is. He's a fun guy to watch pitch.
Absolutely. So what happened? Anyway, the Rays just took a 3-2 lead. By the way, Fidel Brujan drove in a run with a sacrifice fly. So with 2 outs. Tampa Bay's got a 3-2 lead.
I will say, though, Trent, with the Ghost Runner, my new favorite rule, that game is far from over. Oh,
absolutely. Oh, without a doubt. But anyway, so you got Tampa Bay on Thursday night, and then of course they had that blip where the Taylor Walls with the throwing error in the top of the 6th inning allowed a couple of runs. Ryan Yarbrough had 3 runs tagged to his line, but 2 were earned. There was 1 unearned run, and then the Yankees just kept on adding on to that game with the bullpen and kind of pulled away. So that was a 7-2 game. The Rays got a couple of runs in garbage time, as they say. Right. And then on Friday they just couldn't get anything at all. They had the Yankees, Jameson Taillon went 8 innings and did well, and the Rays starter on Friday did pretty well too. He only gave up a couple of runs, but just a couple of solo homers. I think one to Matt Carpenter, if you remember correctly. Matt Carpenter hit a solo home run, and I think maybe Gleyber Torres hit one that day too. Gleyber. And to give it a 2-0 game. And
That's another thing. I mean, you know what? Find a way to get Carpenter in there. Why are we still seeing Joey Gallo and Aaron Hicks? Carpenter has come here. He gets on base. He's hit a couple of big home runs. Get the guy in the lineup. They don't want to put Aaron Judge in center field every day. Well, he's a center fielder now. Deal with it. Let him play center field.
Absolutely. So, and then the Rays lost that game on Friday. They had opportunities to they had runners in scoring position. They had a lot of traffic on the bases. They just couldn't get them in. But they ended up splitting the series on Saturday and Sunday. Really nice, but thanks to the help of some Yankees, one of the Yankee pitchers walked the bases loaded and walked in a couple of runs, and then they scored a run on a hit batter. So it wasn't necessarily the Rays offense producing; it was the Yankees gift wrapping Tampa Bay runs. So we'll take that, and we were 4.5 games back kind of at the end of the series, right where we started. So no ground gained, but none lost either with that series. So then the Rays traveled to Arlington, Texas, where unfortunately they just been terrible, man. They lost to the Rangers, lost big time on Monday. I think it was about 9-5, and they lost last night's game on Tuesday by a significant number as well. So and right now, if this score holds, they're 3-2 going into the bottom of the 10th. As we mentioned, though, this game is far from over. So just and overall, just enough of summarizing the games. Let me just get to the real point of the Rays. The bottom line is the pitching is doing their job for the most part. The only discrepancy I would have with that is I would love to see more length out of guys like Ryan Yarbrough. I'd love to see pitchers labor less during games and to increase their pitch count. I'd love to see them get to 5-6 innings by throwing less pitches. That would be nice to see. In terms of the bullpen's fairly locked down except for Ryan Thompson. Thompson's been struggling, man. He's been terrible. But other guys like JP Firehisen's been great. So has Colin Poche and just so many of the Rays bullpen. Jason Adam has been another lockdown reliever for Tampa Bay. We do have some injury news. Wander Franco, they finally put Wander on the disabled list. And let me just say something here. It's about time Kevin Cash put him on the injured list because Wander's had quad issues for quite some time. But you know what? Kevin Cash just said, "Oh, I'll just give him a couple days off. He'll be back. He'll be doing okay." And it may feel good for a while, but nothing has actually been done about the injury as of yet. You're in mid-May. You're in early June. You need to put Wander on the injured list and get the problem taken care of before he aggravates it even worse and has to miss more time than he would originally. So he's on the 10-day IL right now. It's probably going to be a couple weeks. No significant damage to the quad, but according to the MRI, doctors anticipate 2 to 3 weeks before he can get back on the field. And other than that, and then we got guys like Randy Arozarena kind of heating up a little bit for the Rays. It's good to see his bat taken off. But other than that, with Wander out and a guy that's been producing for a while, the offense is going to have to find a way to score without Wander Franco. And you're going to have to score more than 2-3 runs a night sometimes in order to win games.
Well, let's face it. The Rays offense to begin with is not world. They're not world beaters. They're going to have to pitch if they're going to win. And Wander Franco, he's been struggling. I think maybe the time off will help him out sometimes to be able to just get a couple of weeks to step away from it and get back in there can get you going again. But, I was surprised the Rays gave him such a big contract off of 1 year. I've seen a lot of young players. Just if you're the Yankees, look at what Gary Sanchez did his first year. The guy came up here and hit like 30 home runs in 20 games. It wasn't that ridiculous, but it felt like that's what it was, Can you imagine the Yankees gave that guy a 10-year deal? We'd be pulling our hair out right now. So, for Rays fans, I hope Franco's going to be the star that they think he's going to be. But what was that contract again? Didn't they give him a huge contract, Trent?
Yeah, it was like, what, $90 million or $80 million, something like that for like 7-8 years?
Yeah, it was a little, usually the Rays don't commit to someone that long term, but they believe in him. And, it's great to believe in a young player, but you just need, to me anyway, you need more of a body of work to really know that this guy's going to be something. Look at Miguel Andujar's rookie season. Again, the 27 home runs, the 90-something RB. You would have thought that Miguel Andujar was going to be one of the top players in the sport, and he's done nothing since his rookie year. So, I was a little surprised by that, and you see how he's playing so far this year. We'll see. We'll see, Trent.
Oh, yes, we will. We really will. By the way, I have to let you know.
You were in awe of my my monologue there, right? You're like, whoa. What
I
did
was.
Rich
I was
just
also
say?
I was also disgusted because Adolis Garcia just hit a single to tie the contest up at 3-3 between the Texas Rangers and the Rays. So yeah. So I was just reading that.
I don't blame you.
We're in the bottom of the 11th, and this game is teetering.
See, last inning you were like, "Yay, Ghost Runner," and then this inning you're like, "No, Ghost Runner."
No, that's how I always am.
Yeah.
I love the fact with the Ghost Runner for my team, especially because our offense is so terrible. At least we have a runner in scoring position. Yeah. So, but anyway,
at least you don't get 19, 20 inning games anymore.
No, you don't. But anyway, that's pretty much up with the sports, man.